Good morning folks, Joel Self, Outdoor Instructor here, and we're back with another anchor building video today. We've covered some sling anchors and some building the anchor with the rope, but those have been fairly straightforward anchors. So now we're going to look at building more complex setups that maybe draw on a couple of those different skills at the same time. We're going to go a bit nuts, have a 4-piece anchor that uses everything, but you can kind of apply this to whatever situation you're in. Just because we're using 4 bits of gear doesn't mean that you can't use this with 2 bits of gear, having an in-reach and an out-reach anchor, for example. So let's get straight into it, shall we?
But before we do, I just want to quickly mention, if you've not already seen those other videos I've just referenced, go and check them out using the links below.
So as I mentioned there, guys, we're going to be building off of these 4 bits of gear. So we're going to start off by equalising the 2 closest to me with a sling. Now you could equalise any of them with a sling really, and if you had a really big chunky sling, you might be able to get 3 or even maybe all of them equalised with just 1 sling setup. However, we're going to start off by doing these 2 closest to me. So I've clipped my sling in, I've kept my sewn termination nice and high, and I'm just going to pop that figure of 8 in towards me, making sure the direction of pull is coming slightly off at my angle, because it'd be no good setting this up for a downward pull if I'm going to be stood off to the side here. So I'm going to clip myself through the shelf of this setup, so up through the loop here and the loop on the other side. The reason for that is it's going to leave this master point available for my second clip into when he comes up. So I'll take the rope from me and I'm just going to pop a quick clove hitch on that rope or on that piece of gear, because it's nicely within reach, so I don't need to do anything weird with it. I can just clove hitch straight on. So there's me on my first 2 bits of gear. That was nice and simple, and I've left that master point available for my mate. Now we've got 2 more bits of gear to deal with. One of them is in reach and one of them is definitely out of reach, so we're going to set them up accordingly. We'll take up to our second carabiner here, leaving a little bit of slack between our first bit of gear. As we mentioned before, that's because this strand that goes across between these bits of gear is redundant. This is not directly part of our anchor. We can almost imagine it isn't there. What we're going to do though is take the rope from our second piece of gear that goes down to the B-layer, pop a clove hitch in on that, and using a nice big chunky HMS carabiner, we're going to clip this clove hitch to our rope loop. And again, we'll adjust that up. So a little bit of fine tuning is going to need to be done in the end to just make sure everything's equalised. But what's special to note here is that the HMS, I've clipped it on with the gate facing towards the left hand side. The reason for that is my next bit of gear is on the left that I'm going to be clipping. So do take note of that. It is quite important to keep your loops nice and clean. So we'll take our rope up from the clove hitch on our harness and we're just going to run this through that final carabiner, making sure they're all done up throughout this process. Pop our final clove hitch in. There we go. So I've got to adjust this final clove hitch, that's no drama, it's within reach, so I can get to that no problem. Snug that up. So we'll quickly run through what we've got. First 2 pieces of gear were equalised with the sling, using a nice big figure of 8 for the master point, and I've clipped into the shelf, meaning my friend can come up and they can clip that master point when they're attaching themselves to the belay. I've then left a slack bit of rope running up to my second piece of gear, but I've got a tight line between that and myself where I've clove hitched on my harness. My next bit of gear was on the left, so I set up the carabiner with the gate on the left, and I've got an out of reach anchor, so the rope is running straight through that and is clove hitched back to me. So we have a loop, we've got a single line, and then we've got a sling with a single line. So this is a really kind of complex anchor. We've got lots of different things going on, lots of different techniques used, and I think that's about as hard as it could get for you to set up. Now obviously these might be further apart, they might be closer together, they may be staggered in height. whatever the case may be. But the point is that if we've got all these skills at your disposal and you can use those appropriately, you should be able to build yourselves really simple anchors that look very complex. Because this really is no more difficult to build than the anchors we've done in the previous video. We're just using the exact same skills, but multiple times over within the setup. A quick note, just because I've used the skills in this particular way here, does not mean that's the only way you can build these anchors. I could have built this same anchor with maybe 3 bits of gear equalized with a sling, or I could have used the rope to build the entire anchor. There's no reason why you must go out and try and replicate this. The point is that you take those skills, you look at the situation you're being presented with, and you apply those skills appropriately. Well folks, I hope that was helpful for you. I've been Joel Self Outdoor Instructor. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.